Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Football Fandemic, where we are ready for Kickoff Weekend. This is the weekend we've all been waiting for, and we're going to talk about the whole slate of games. We're going to talk about big news that's happening in the NFL. We're going to talk about predictions for Super Bowls and playoffs and records and all that on the Football Fandemic. Josh, this is the weekend that, okay, I am a father, and I really make an effort to not do that thing where you're like, man, I can't wait for 3 months down the road to start, because then you end up missing like important days because you're not kind of in the now. But if there's a thing that I'm often looking forward to, it is this weekend in September. When we hit the draft and we do that and we get really excited about the people we drafted, I already start thinking, man, I can't wait for September. And I'm like, okay, no, calm down, back it up here. And then, you go through, and then if you're Indianapolis right now, you go through like all of the offseason and training camp, and then you're like not looking so forward to the beginning of September. But I'm still looking forward to it, even with the muted expectations that I'm going to carry, and I'm going to continue to talk about carrying until I'm proven wrong. But what are you feeling here heading into the second weekend of September?
Oh, it's one of the best weekends all year, maybe the best weekend out of the sports calendar. Every team back in action, and then the Vikings are going to cap it all off on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
So I mean, it goes from Eagles and Cowboys tonight all the way to Vikings and Bears, and you can buckle up, put on Red Zone, which now has commercials, by the way, and just go through all the games and watch them all with some popcorn, pizza, whatever your snack of choice is. Get some stadium seating up, maybe, put a couch on a loft, invite all your friends over. It's all good. Football is back.
By the way, so I was one of those guys who, for the past couple of years, we've had Sunday Ticket through YouTube TV, and it's always hard to pull the trigger, but they always have that sale where it's like 200 and something, it's $100 off. And this year the price went up again to like 450, 430, 450, something like that. And I kind of made the declaration, I'm not doing it this year. But I just want to let everybody out there know, if you're in that same situation and you have Verizon, you can now get, I think through the end of September, you can get it through Verizon on your account. Which you can watch on any TV. You just have to, get the login and stuff. But you can get it for $276, I think it is, $276. And so I, once again, do have the full year of Sunday Ticket, but I did not get Red Zone this year, which I usually do, because one, I typically like to watch a full game, because for me, the exciting part is what led to the touchdown, not just a bunch of touchdown passes. I like seeing how they look to getting there, but also commercials in it and, all that, and it costs more. And so I just cut out the Red Zone. But if you're looking for Sunday Ticket, where you can watch every game that's out of market, and then of course, if you have YouTube TV or something, you have the in-market games as well. You can watch all that. $276 if you have Verizon. Don't forget, because that's way better than $450. So
and last year I found a little bit of a loophole to at least give me like the first half of the season free, and that was continue to make new Google email addresses and sign up for 1 week free trials every single week. It didn't for whatever reason, like you have to put in your card information, and they eventually fixed it. And most companies do, like, so you can't do just constant free trials. It's, we already have your card on file. Nope. I put in the same card each and every time, remembered to cancel it. And then by the time, I think it was like week 7 or week 8, they just weren't offering any weekly free trials at all anymore. So at that point, I gave up, put up the white flag, and just bought it, but bought it at a now prorated lesser rate for the rest of the season. So see if that loophole is available for you this year.
I was going to say, are you trying that this year still?
I'm going to see if it works. Hopefully, we don't have any NFL bigwigs on the line right now and watching
they're
the
all
show.
Watching, every one of them. I mean, Roger Goodell calls me after every show and says, I liked what you said about this. I didn't like how you cast me in a negative light there. Fix that. And I'm like, Roger, I've got to be honest. This is like free press right here. You just got to live with it. So. But so Josh's new strategy is going to be to get like 100 I guess you don't need 100 because there's not that many weeks, but a whole bunch of little credit cards with like a $500 limit on them. He'll just use different credit card information each time. So
that's perfect.
Yes, and again, the best deal if you're a student, don't forget you can get it for like 100 and something. I don't remember what it is because I'm not a student. I do have a college ID, or I mean email, but when I went to put it in, it then told me to like put in my verification that I'm a student. I'm like, So if you're a student, you can do it even cheaper still, or if you know a student who will let you sign in on their stuff. I just didn't want to do that, so there's your options, because tonight everything starts and we're going to talk about all of these games that are going to happen this weekend. But as always, we like to start off with what big news has happened, and some big news has happened since our last podcast, just last week. I think it was just since last week, the whole Micah Parsons thing. Am I right?
Yes, Micah Parsons unfortunately traded to the Green Bay Packers from the Dallas Cowboys. Packers are.
He says unfortunately because he is in the NFC North. His team, the Vikings, against those Packers. Packers fans are like, this is not unfortunate. This is very fortunate.
Yeah. They give up Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks, one for 2026, one for 2027, and they get Micah Parsons. They immediately sign him to a 4-year, $188 million extension. A lot of that cap contract, or whatever the cap hit is, backloaded into 2028 and 2029, where the cap number is going to be around 70 million. And Jordan Love also has a cap number that kicks it there that is around 70 million. So they've given themselves this very nice 3-year window to where they can still have these players and still sign free agents, still trade for guys with bigger contracts if they need to fill in some of those gaps. They can for that 3-year period, and then just hope that everything goes well after that. But that 3-year window is open for the Packers, and Micah Parsons, obviously a very dynamic player, perhaps the best pass rusher in the NFL today.
Yeah, it was quite a shocking. So I had heard like little whispers about it, and you even said the dude with the dog said that it could happen. The profile guy with the dog, I forgot his name already.
His name is Ricky, and he retired, by the way. After that, he posted on his Twitter account that he is heading off into the sunset. He might return in March of 2026 for free agency, but for right now, a big week for him because he also got the Adam Thielen thing. He also got the Brian Robbins. So all over the place, he was just breaking all this stuff before it happened. And he is hanging it up, and like John Elway in 1998, leaving at the top of his game.
Huh.
Or Peyton Manning in 2015 too.
Okay. Well, Ricky, if that's your real name, good job on getting that. Like I said, we'd heard those kind of whispers, but I didn't fully expect it to happen because you always hear crazy rumors and stories. But Jerry Jones says, you know what? I've made myself clear, and I like to stick to my principles. And Micah Parsons, you're out, and we're better for it. Now, I don't know that I agree with him that they're better for it. He says, I feel like we're in a better place now. I think he was quoted as saying, I'm like, in what way? Just because you saved some money? Because your team is not in a better place. And it'll be interesting to see how the Cowboys, who just perennially are like picked to be great and picked to be America's team, and they just do so bad ever since the last couple decades. Anyway, Jerry Jones, whatever, but Green Bay is really looking excited about this, and this could change. Now, I'm assuming when we get into our, going through the records of team wins and everything, you factored in Micah Parsons.
I did. Yeah. The site that I use allows you to like save each game and then go back. Like if something big happens and, okay, I think Green Bay is going to win this game, and this game now. So I did change the predictions up a little bit, at least game by game, and have kind of throughout the offseason, and have finalized them for later on in today's show.
But that's all later. We still got more news, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, and from just quick from the Cowboys' perspective, I agree the team is not better, But if we operate under the assumption, which I think is safe to say, that Micah Parsons was not going to come back to the Dallas Cowboys no matter what, that the bridge had already been burned, which is Jerry Jones' fault probably in the first place.
Right.
Because we've seen like this whole drama play out, and on the day the regular season starts, Jerry Jones likes to steal the headlines and sign whatever player that is up for an extension to that extension. So like that's where I assumed it was going. But since that didn't happen, I guess again, the bridge had been burned. They got what they could, I think, at the very least.
Though Jerry Jones could have mended that bridge if he really wanted to. I think he could have come in and said, okay, you know what? I was under the sense that we were operating like this, but you want your representative in, and this is the number. I think we can do that. If he would have said those things, Micah Parsons would have been like, I love the Cowboys and I'm here to, because he was already like, oh, I, never thought I'd leave this place. I love you fans, blah, blah, all the stuff they say. Right.
Yeah. $188 million would go a long way in fixing bridges. I don't know what the average bridge costs now. So
maybe less than 188 million.
But from the Packers, like I'm trying to talk myself in over the week, trying to talk myself into a way. Oh, the Packers are somehow worse because of this. So I was like, okay, I'll use my NFL Pro account. I'll use my PFF account and I'll see what was Micah Parsons' worst graded game as a pass rusher. And it was like a 64, which the average is around 60, just for anyone that doesn't know PFF. So I was like, okay, so his worst game last year was above average. Let's look at the film. Let's see what ways the other teams used to stop Micah Parsons from that game. So I looked at NFL Pro. You can search by every snap that one specific player does in that game, and it will bring all those up for you to play automatically. And I watched Micah Parsons. I was like, okay, double team. Maybe that'll get him. No, he split right through the double team with no issue. Well, maybe if it was against the Eagles, so maybe Jordan Mailata did a really good job against it. No, he beat Jordan Mailata, one of the best left tackles in the league, off the punch. So if he beats Jordan Mailata, Christian Darrisaw, who's also up there, is one of the best, going to have a hard time. Well, maybe he's not good against the run. Gap control was perfect on an outside zone run. When they brought in a tight end to block him from the opposite side on a wham block, he powered right through that, even though the tight end had a running start. So every silver lining from a Vikings perspective that I could look for, I looked for, and I did not find any weakness in his game, unfortunately. So he is going to be a problem for not only the Vikings, but every team in the NFC North and every team that goes up against the Packers this season.
Yeah, you guys NFC North, you just get to face him twice for sure. So yeah. Exciting stuff. Well, it does change the complexion, I think, of the NFC North a bit, which for me is very unclear. I'm not going to lie. I know every team right now is feeling like, yeah, we're good because of this, because of that. But right now, the NFC North to me is very unclear because you guys do have to play each other. And as good and as much hope as you all have in each of your, in all the improvements, somebody's got to lose those games and somebody's got to win. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. What other news this week? Anything?
There's just some extensions going on right now. Abe Lucas with the Seahawks, he's their offensive tackle. He just signed a few minutes ago before we started a 3-year, $46 million contract. Nick Bonito, 4 years, $120 million. He's an edge rusher for the Denver Broncos. Was an all-pro last year. He was the first player since Jason Taylor to, I think, have an interception return and 10 plus for a touchdown and 10 plus sacks in the same season. Andrew Van Ginkel later also met that mark in the same year. So Nick Bonino gets that. Luke Gedeke, right tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 4 years, $90 million. And then the Cowboys used, I guess, some of the money that they saved from not signing Micah Parsons to lock down their top cornerback, Deron Bland, a 4-year, $92 million deal. And then also today, the Jets announced that their starting guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, is out for the season with a triceps injury.
It's a big deal.
So it really is, because the biggest strength of the Jets offense was going to be their offensive line. Like every position had been pretty solidified with the drafting of Armand Membu, and it looked like, okay, they can just run this outside zone and have all their concepts go off of that. But now you're going to have a fill-in guy and one offensive lineman might not think, okay, that won't make too much of a difference, but it's different chemistry. It's different knowing your assignment, and knowing when you can go off of your assignment because of the trust that you have in the person next to you, knowing when they need help. It definitely kind of sours things a little bit for the New York Jets. So with that, I was not able to alter the New York Jets predictions because I saw it about 20 minutes before we started, but I don't think it would change a whole lot.
We can talk about which games that it might affect the most, but yeah, Jets will Jets. They're gonna do what Jets do, and that is have bad luck and misfortune early in the season that continues throughout the season. So poor Jets. They're kind of the Browns and the Jets right now. What else? I feel like there was something else. Oh, onside kick. Did they just update that this week?
They might have officially announced it, but I believe the rules committee had been talking about, you can do it whenever you want now. You just have to announce it.
They've moved it up 1 yard.
Oh, they've moved it. Okay.
Yeah. So kicking players can line up 1 yard closer now for whatever that 1 yard difference makes. And they can kick at any time, but they're trying to raise their recovery rates, it says, from 6% to between 10 and 13%. So evidently they feel like it wasn't what they wanted last year, and so they're continuing to tweak that a little bit. We'll see if that makes any difference. It's always interesting to kind of watch this kickoff, because that's something that feels like it's had lots of little tweaks over the last few years. When I was younger and kickoffs would happen, that was where they used to, remember when they'd have that segment on ESPN, he got jacked up, and then all of a sudden, there's all these concussions, and that went away like a ghost. You never, that is gone. And they can't even talk about that anymore. But that was the big thing. Kickoffs was one of those huge places where that would happen. People would get rocked because everybody's running full speed from opposite ends of the field, and they've changed it, and now they're changing it again and trying to see if they can get that to a place where it makes a difference, but it's also safe. So
I'm surprised that teams have not, that one team at least has not found a trick kicker. You've got these dude perfect guys on YouTube that go viral, and I'm surprised that we haven't found a trick football kicker that knows exactly how and where, almost in his sleep, where to hit the football so that it bounces off the turf and goes high 9 yards. I feel like that could happen sooner, or I feel like it should have happened already.
I know the football is, those kickers exist, but for some reason, not every year, but a lot, you will see this team is trying out this kicker. Now show him doing crazy stuff where, he's kicking it and knocking a bottle cap off the top of a fence post 1,000 miles away. Yeah. And you're like, how in the world are they not going to be awesome this year? But every time those guys get under the lights in the real game, they can't do it. And so I don't know what it is.
I think I would have a second kicker spot on my roster if it was just for that YouTube sensation or whatever. And I don't care if 2 kickers are on my team and one, it's not. I think that big of a deal.
I think the difference is YouTube kickers can start that camera and stop that camera as many times as they need to and make it look like first time that's what happened, but it was really the 300th time.
That is very true.
Whereas when you're on the field, it's got to happen this time, and that's what they've not yet got. So.
Well, parents, start training your kids to be an onside kick specialist, and only an onside kick specialist. You don't have to deal with the concussions in football. You get to make, a lot of money anyway. You'll probably get generational $2 million at least a year. Maybe it caps off at $4 million, but still, that's a lot of money. Train your kids to be onside kickers.
This is our parenting advice here at the Football Fandemic. Oh, okay. We talked about Trayvon Diggs expecting to play in this opener for Dallas, right? Tonight? I don't know if we talked about it. I can't remember if you said that.
I mentioned the Deron Bland extension, but I think Trayvon Diggs, who was injured for most of last year, he's ready to go.
They need him.
They are going to have to, and Trayvon Diggs is such a weird enigma of a player because he had a bunch of interceptions, but he also, when he gambles so much, he gives up a lot. And I'm not sure if he's if it's because he's bad in coverage that he's giving up all of this, or if he's good in coverage and just gets too aggressive and sometimes bites on those double move. Like if he didn't have that aggression, would he be a shutdown corner? I don't know. And I don't know if the Cowboys, are going to try and find that out this year, but they're going to need to, because AJ Brown and Devontae Smith tonight can run double move routes easily. And if they can bait Trayvon Diggs a couple of times, that's a couple of 60-yard touchdowns.
Yeah. Yep. And I could see, well, we're going to talk about our predictions. We're going to talk about each game. As a matter of fact, is there any other news before we move into looking at the games of this week, kickoff weekend?
No, I don't have anything else.
Let's do it then. And we're going to be starting with that very team, so we can actually talk about Cowboys versus the Eagles. I need to pull up my schedule here. 7:20 p.m. Is that Central Time?
Yeah. Yep. 7:20 Central. It starts 5:20 out here in Arizona, where it is 90 degrees is the high today. 90 degrees has never felt so cool after weeks of 110.
Oh, yeah. See, I forget you have that. We're at 71 today. Very nice. Very nice. But Dallas and Philadelphia will be in Philly, so they will have cooler temperatures probably than they would if they were in Dallas. But I think it'll be a great football night. I know a lot of excited people in the world, and I'm going to watch this game. Whether, I don't particularly like Dallas, I will be rooting for Philadelphia in this, but I really, this first 2 weeks, I was telling Josh before this, everybody wants like your predictions of games, and he, for you fans, went and did that, made predictions of games, and I am waiting 2 weeks to get a feel for, not that I'm going to make a full prediction list in 2 weeks, but I want to get a feel for what the teams look like now, because everybody's like, you go through and it's really easy to like want to base it off of last year. This team was no good, but teams change. I remember the Texans being the worst team in football. And then the next year with D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud, they were so much better. It blew my mind. But when I made all my preseason predictions, the Houston Texans were losing so much. And I had to go back and revise that. And that's what can happen. So this week and next week are two of my favorite weeks to watch every game, even the games that I usually may not care about during a year, because I want to see what's changed, what's different. What is this team starting to look like? And yeah, they have not completely gelled in their first week, but by their second week, they're starting to get an identity. Yes, that will change. We know there are teams like the Miami Dolphins who usually start hot and then they just crater off. But I want to see what those storylines are. And tonight we got Dallas. I want to see what Dallas is this year, because truthfully, I don't know what Dallas is going to be. And you think you know what Philly is, but are they going to be able to maintain it? So what are your thoughts on this first game to kick off everything here on Thursday night?
Yeah, I will be cheering for the Cowboys because I can't cheer for the Eagles, Saints, or Packers just out of, past traumas against the Vikings. So
I think I've told everyone here, my son, who I have allowed to choose his own football teams, he says he will always root for the Colts first, but he picked two teams to like. This is when he was really little. He's a little older now, but he called them the Green Eagles and then the Steelers for some reason. And I'm like, man, two teams I would never have selected. But for him, I root for the Eagles when they're on now.
That's and you were did well for that last year when they got to the Super Bowl. I do think they win this game tonight. Like Dallas's offense should be okay. Like Dak Prescott, I still think is a top quarterback in the NFC. Maybe not the top quarterback, but one of them. And when you give him now George Pickens along with CeeDee Lamb, that makes your receiving game a lot better. I don't know if Dallas has had this good of a number one and number two receiver since like they had Terrell Owens and Miles Austin, maybe. And even those guys didn't like sync up their best years with one another. So it will be a test for the Eagles cornerbacks because Adoree Jackson is their new outside corner taking over for Darius Slay. He beat out Keely Ringo. We forgot to mention him last week. I want to see how he does. He's been a baseline NFL corner, has had some good seasons. but he's going to go up against whether it's CeeDee Lamb or whether it's George Pickens, he's going to have to guard someone that is a very dynamic wide receiver. And they're both dynamic in their own ways, with CeeDee as like the slot quick guy, and George Pickens doesn't usually get open, but makes acrobatic catches. So he basically is open all the time. I still think that Philadelphia is able to pull away. And, I think the Eagles win this one pretty handily.
I agree, but I do think you're right. It will be interesting to see what that Cowboys offense looks like with these receivers, with the personnel they have on the field. What will it look like? And without, their star defensive guy who left them, what will that look like?
Yeah.
But then it's not over just on Thursday, because this week we get a Friday game, something we don't usually get. This one is only on YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah, you can only watch it on YouTube. I don't even think it's YouTube TV. You got to go to YouTube on your smart TV or on your laptop or phone. But it'll be. I think it's the first time that YouTube itself has broadcast a game.
Yeah, I know you can get NFL Ticket now on YouTube, not just YouTube TV. And so for some people, that's good because you don't want to get that whole base package for YouTube TV. You just want YouTube. So Kansas City Chargers coming up to kick off and see where they stand. I have not looked too deeply into either one of these teams. I know you have kind of had a little more opinion on where Kansas City offensively may be a little better, in your opinion, this year than they were last year. I haven't looked too hard into the Chargers yet this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Kansas City on both sides of the ball is a bad matchup for the Chargers. The Chargers with Greg Roman want to establish the run, and Kansas City is excellent against the run. They get defensive interior guys who can't rush the passer at all, but what they can do is eat up the double team right away and make tackles in the backfield. They silenced Saquon Barkley for what it's worth in the Super Bowl, even though they couldn't silence anybody else, and it's because their defensive tackles are so stout against the run. So I don't know if Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris are going to be able to get free, and when your offense relies on that identity, it's going to make things a little bit more difficult for Justin Herbert. I still think Justin Herbert is, for me, he's a top 5 quarterback in the game, so he can make a lot of that work. But Ladd McConkey is going to be right up against Trent McDuffie, who has been at his best when he is guarding the guy in the slot, and that is where Ladd McConkey tends to line up. So you're going to need rookie Trey Harris from Ole Miss to be a big-time receiver in his first game. I don't know if that's going to happen. And then on the other side of the ball, man, I just think the Chiefs are going to be very explosive this year. Now with Worthy and Brown both healthy, I like Worthy not only as a deep guy, but also as he's a very good route runner as well. So he doesn't have to just do the clear outs. You don't have to have just 2 guys doing clear outs. You can try to get Worthy the ball in space a little bit more with some of the intermediate stuff. I know Rashee Rice isn't there yet, but I just really like what the Chiefs can do on offense, and I'd be cheering for the Chargers, but again, I think my brain is gonna go away from my heart here and pick the Kansas City Chiefs.
I agree with you 100%. I'm going to be charging. I'm going to be cheering for the Chargers, not charging for the cheerers. I'm going to be cheering for the Chargers. I want them. I've always liked Justin Herbert, but they haven't shown me that they can ever put that together with him in a way that inspires confidence. Unfortunately, we're going to have to hear ad nauseum about the engagement. I am sure, but I'm going to wade through all of the Taylor Swift stuff and the Travis Kelce stuff to watch this game, to see what I think of these two. But I agree. I think, unfortunately, in my opinion, you Kansas City Chiefs fans out there, that'll be fortunate for you, but I think Kansas City's going to win that one as well. Let's move on to our Sunday games. Sunday, you have all those noon games of all the teams that aren't great. And, we always talk about when we're going to, at the end of this podcast, talk about what's our marquee game this week, what's our manure game, and what's our the surprise game. But the manure games are always these that kind of often they're the ones that hit in this time slot. And even with the possibility of having to pick a manure game, at the beginning of the year, I like watching all of these teams, even the Browns, even Miami, even Jacksonville, even Carolina. And you notice I'm picking teams that I typically think have been bad in these last few years. But let's talk about these. We don't have to go super in depth on each one, but let's talk about each one just a little bit. Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. You got the NFC South having a clash right up front, and these are the two teams that most people last year were like, oh, one of these two teams will probably be the NFC, and it was Tampa Bay that took that division. What do you see in Tampa Bay, Atlanta this year?
Well, last year when they matched up in both their contests, they combined in those two games total for over 1,700 yards and over 130 yards, or over 130 points. So it was like big offensive fireworks. And the interesting thing is both of these teams did a lot through the draft and free agency to build up their defense. So I think that's the big question that's going to be answered, is what defense is more prepared for the big time as we move forward, because both of these offenses, we know, even with Michael Penix, Kirk Cousins was the quarterback in both of those big shootout games, but Michael Penix, I guess, is the other question that we can have answered, but I still expect the offense to be solid at the very least through him, just from what we saw last year and what we saw at Washington, especially if he's gotten his accuracy back. He, again, last year was kind of all over the place a little bit. So I think they're perfect tests for one another. Both of these offenses are perfect tests for their new revamped defenses, and we can kind of get a lot of questions answered for what the rest of the season is going to look like.
What is the Atlanta defensive upgrade?
So they drafted a pair of first-round edge rushers. James Pierce will be coming off of one side, and then Jalen Walker, who played both off the ball and as an edge linebacker at Georgia, he'll be coming from the other side. Both of those guys were very good rushing the passer at the college level, and obviously when you take them in the first round and you even give up a first-rounder to the Rams in order to get back into the first round, you expect them to hopefully be ready to go week one. I know that's not always the case. We can see today, or we can start to see, on Sunday, if they are ready for the NFL level and ready for the NFL speed. And then I also really like Xavier Watts, their free safety, to roam the field and allow Jesse Bates to play a lot more in the box.
Yeah. So Baker Mayfield has Godwin out, right? But he has other receivers, obviously, there that he can go to. I think that first week, as much as you are game ready by one, I think there's still that getting used to the speed of like what a real game is, even different than practice and preseason. And so I'm going to go Tampa Bay in this one. And I think it's going to be a combination of just the quarterback being able to offensively do more than I think his opposite will, but also those guys having to kind of get their feet, even if they end up being really good. I think the first game is going to be their hardest one, kind of getting the feel for that. Now they could come out and surprise us, sack Baker, 4 or 5 times, and then I'll be singing a different tune next week. I'll be like, man, those Falcons, watch out for that defense. But for this week, I think I'm going Tampa Bay. What about you?
I'm going to go Atlanta because Tristan Wirfs is injured, and I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to be ready for week one. Now, they did, like we mentioned earlier, just signed their other offensive tackle, Luke Gedeke, to an extension. So maybe, the energy boost he gets from all that money into his bank account will provide him enough strength to play as 2 tackles in this game. But
it's called money strength.
Right, yes. James Pierce or Jalen Walker is going to be able to go up against a second string guy on one of the sides. And I think that should help them, one of them, ease into the NFL a little bit more. So I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think the teams will split their season series between one another, and when that has happened, the normal thing is just pick the home team even. So I'll go with the Falcons.
Okay, so we got our first point of discontention right there. Cincinnati versus Cleveland. I'm just going to say right away, I think Cincinnati's going to win this. Cleveland, if Cleveland has one strong suit, it's their defense, and if Cincinnati has one strong suit, it's their offense. These are like the opposite teams, but I think Cincinnati's high-powered offense is going to put up too many points for the Cleveland defense to stop. And I don't think Joe Flacco, even going against Cincinnati's defense, is going to be the burner that he needs to be to win this game.
Yeah, this will be a good kind of gauge of how bad the Browns offense is going to be this season. If you score, if you score 28 points or less, your offense is going to be one of the worst of all time. I think if you want against this Bengals team, just based on how bad their defense was last year. So if they can get above that 28-point mark, they might be in the second least tier of bad offenses this season. It's not historically bad, but it is still at the bottom of the league. I'm not expecting the Browns to have much of a chance, even though the Bengals always start off slow. And the Bengals last year did lose to the New England Patriots without Drake May, Jacoby Brissett, to open the season last year. So
that's true. I did forget how slow they start every year, but this year I'm going to give them the 1 week fast start because they're playing Cleveland only here, and so
yes,
and it's not because Cleveland's a bad defense. It's because I don't think Cleveland's offense is going to get it done. So
same here. Yep, I'm picking Cincinnati as well.
Okay, so still just one team different. Miami versus Indy. Oh boy. I guess I should start. I hate Daniel Jones. Did I say that? I've been I was reading this week several. You always read to try and find something to latch onto, and I kept seeing even the guys who picked Indy. They're like, it looks like Indy's got themselves a nice veteran quarterback who can bleed blue, and they can finally rally around a veteran quarterback. And I'm like, who are you writing this? That has been what they've been trying to do for 7 years. It's been just a mess. I think Indy has good pieces. Miami, I think, is not going to be great this year. Tua's got to stay healthy, and he's got to get on the same page with Tyreek. And yeah, there's that drama carrying over from the summer. Everything in me wants to pick Indy, but there's a part of me that just can't not pick Miami. I am picking Miami to win this, and I'm going to be very sad because Indy has an 11-year streak of not winning their opening game, and I think it's going to continue. And all those people who were like, Daniel Jones is the steady hand that's going to take this team. Now, I know Shane Steichen seems very confident that we're going to win more than everybody expects. And if there is a week that we could win, I would think this would be the week. But I also know Miami usually starts strong. They end worse. And they're going to have Tua at least for the beginning of this game, unless he gets hurt right. 4 snaps in like Aaron Rodgers. They're going to have a better quarterback than they're going to have later in the year when he does get hurt. So I'm giving this one to Miami, and I'm going to be very sad, but I'm going to watch it. And if Indy ends up winning, I'm still not going to be celebrating the Indianapolis Colts, but I will have a little bit of hope, depending on how they win it, what it looks like. But I just have so zero faith in Daniel Jones. I just want everybody to know I am a Colts fan. It sounds like I am such a hater. But anyway, that's me.
I am a temporary Colts hater until Anthony Richardson is made the starting quarterback and Coleman Owen is taken off of the practice squad and moved to the active roster. So I am in protest against the Indianapolis Colts. I had no leaning either way until they broke my heart twice in the preseason. Now the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to choose them to win as well. I think I don't trust Daniel Jones, much like you don't trust Daniel Jones. And Miami's defense that you can exploit is their secondary or lack of it.
That's not Daniel Jones' strong suit.
No, the wide receivers might get open. I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be able to get the ball to them on time. And their defensive line has been good. Surprisingly, Miami was the 10th best scoring defense last year, which kind of shocked me. Their offense was more so the issue than their defense. So I expect that defensive line, now just adding Kenneth Grant to it, still should have some strength and could slow down Jonathan Taylor enough. For me, this is also another measuring stick game for the Miami Dolphins, who I think this season have a wide range of outcomes that we could see. They could bounce back to their previous offensive heights of years ago if Tyreek Hill was just a one-off from last year, or it could be last year was a trend and we're starting to move back into a fire Mike McDaniel sort of mindset. I tend to lean that way, but I would not be shocked if this is a team that could end up in the playoffs. And I think we can get a lot of information from that in this first game for their offense to see, okay, what are you going to be? Like you said, what are you going to be this year? We'll start to see the inklings of that in this game.
Yeah, as sad as it is. And I agree. I would rather have thrown Anthony Richardson in there. Even if he was bad, I just feel like we need to know what we have. And Daniel Jones is not telling us that. We'll see. We'll see. Still just one game different. Let's look at Carolina, Jacksonville. I'll let you start one.
Yeah, I like the Jaguars offense a lot, and I think they are going to win this game. I think Bryce Young is going to keep his team in the game for a lot of this, but I think the running game eventually breaks it open for Jacksonville. I think Travis Hunter and Ted McMillan are both going to show out. They're the top 2 rookie wide receivers in terms of where they were drafted. They were both in the top 10. And it'll just be fun to see how Jacksonville uses Travis Hunter. It seems like they're going to use them pretty much all the time on offense as their second receiver. And if that's the case, having him and Brian Thomas, if Travis Hunter lives up to the expectation, is going to be deadly. And I think that helps Trevor Lawrence out a lot, especially with his play caller, Liam Cohen. So I hope that Bryce Young's first game this year goes different than it had for the first 2 seasons, so that we can see that he has in fact really taken that next step forward. But I just really like the Jaguars offense this year, and I think they will outscore the Panthers.
So to give the end first, I agree. I think Jacksonville is going to win. Everybody keeps talking about Bryce Young being better. I have not felt that yet. I felt like he got a little better, but I didn't feel like he was like blowing my socks off at the end of last year. I need to see some of that before I really start saying, yeah, Bryce Young. So I'm going Jacksonville. I am excited to see what they look like with their additions, particularly Travis Hunter. I want to see what he does, how much he plays both ways. And here's my question. This will be for you, since this year, I, for the first year in a long time, am not partaking in the fantasy football of our normal better than 0-14 or whatever it's called now, league that we have. Josh, you are. Did you guys address the scoring conundrum that could be Travis Hunter if somebody picked both Travis and the Jacksonville defense and he picks off a ball and runs it back for a touchdown? Does he get 6 points plus a point for all the individual yards? And then the defense also get 6 points and for all those yards plus his offense? Have you guys talked about how that scoring is going to happen?
We have not. That is the only league where of my 3 that I do not have Travis Hunter. Josh Haupt has him in this one, but in his cowardice is sitting him on the bench, at least so far this week.
Josh, you better change that before the Sunday game.
So I don't know. That would be a question for Brandon to answer, or maybe he's just letting the NFL fantasy app do whatever the default is. But yeah, I don't know.
This is one of those that I meant to say something before you guys drafted, that it should be made explicit, because this is the kind of thing that halfway through the year, somebody's going to be like, I wasn't aware that could happen. And I would love it. I don't know that whoever picks Travis Hunter is going to pick the Jacksonville defense, but if such a situation occurred where he got an offensive touchdown plus yards and he got a pick 6 and the defense also got those points, like that one player, I would be really interested to see what his number would be at the end of the day. So I'm hoping one time this year that happens in a game, and we can be like, man, look how many points Travis Hunter got. So that will be something I'll be watching. But yes, I agree. Jacksonville beating Carolina this week. Let's move down to Las Vegas versus New England. By the way, I again forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Matthew Thomas. This is Josh Kolodziejski, all the way here. What are we, 43 minutes into this podcast? But Ezra, our resident Las Vegas fan, did have some disagreement with Josh's take on how great or how not great Las Vegas is going to be this year, the Raiders. And so let's talk about Las Vegas, New England. I don't think Ezra is going to be happy. I'm going to start off and say, I think this is going to be a fun game, because I've said Pete Carroll and Geno Smith on that side of the ball, just kind of watching where they go from here. It's going to be, I think they're going to be a little better than they have been in the past couple of years. But I also think that New England is taking a step forward this year. Mike Vrabel, with his new quarterback there and the pieces they've been putting around him, and just the team growing. I think New England is going to win this game this week. What do you think, Josh?
I think so as well. The Tom Brady revenge game will unfortunately go sour for.
It doesn't feel much like a revenge because Tom Brady doesn't do anything except he's like a face. Does he even do anything in the drafting or in any part of the management?
The rumor was that he hand selected the North Dakota State quarterback Cam Miller as the heir apparent to Geno Smith. But then Cam Miller was eventually put on the practice squad and waived after training camp. So he's still technically with the team and still could possibly be the next Tom Brady. And they kind of had the similar thing where they don't have strong arms, but they're smart quarterbacks who both won championships in college. But yeah, that's basically as far as I think Tom Brady's interactions have
Real
gone
quick, since we brought that up, I did see recently. So there is the conundrum that Tom Brady is an owner, partial owner of the Raiders. And he is a broadcast person who, before teams play, he will sit and talk to them and get information so that he can do color commentary, I think is his role in the booth.
Yeah.
And they did say, okay, that's a weird sort of conflict of interest because he's in here kind of hearing from teams, things they're going to try and getting information. We're going to limit him. Then I saw just last week, I think it was, that they've relaxed some of those limits on Tom Brady. What are your thoughts on Tom Brady being like an owner who has some say into the team, has some say into hey, this is what you should watch out for, whatever, can talk to the coach, and then also being in that room getting information from players before a game in order to call the game? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an ideal circumstance, and there certainly is the conflict of interest. But I do think that, I mean, the coaches and players are going to tell him as much as they are willing to tell him. And I think knowing that he is in fact an owner will hopefully the smart ones begin to kind of button up a little bit more of that. And I mean, Kevin Burkhardt was still having those meetings with coaches and players going up. And it's not as if it would be difficult for Burkhardt to relay a lot of that information to Tom Brady in the first place. So I think the optics of it aren't great. I don't think it's going to change a bunch unless you get just some chatty players and coaches that I guess would get what they deserve for telling Tom Brady all of their future plans.
So here's the question for us NFL fans. Does it lessen the entertainment that Tom Brady can give through his commentary when they're buttoning up and not telling him as much?
Well, that's a pretty low bar, is the entertainment value that Tom Brady provided last year. So I don't know if it can get much lower. I think, again, teams knowing that Kevin Burkhardt is relaying the information to Tom Brady, I don't think he's going to get much more information than he got last year when Kevin Burkhardt was giving him what they were saying. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to change too much of the Fox game of the week until Greg Olsen is back on it.
Brandon Colmark's favorite announcer. All right. So, Ezra, we apologize, but we do both feel that New England is going to take this first win, and we'll be watching those Raiders. And if they start performing better than we expect, we will take note of that and we will change our tune. Okay. So we're not just set that they're going to be bad all year. Like I get with some teams. I try not to do that ever, but there are teams that I get that way about. We're going to keep an open mind with Las Vegas and watch what they put on the field. How about Arizona, New Orleans? I'll let you start. You live in Arizona.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I like their defense a lot. I don't like really anything from the Saints. And Spencer Rattler's father once threatened me on Twitter. So
did he really? What was this story?
All right. So last year, there's a quarterback at South Carolina named Lenora Sellers. And he, I think, is going to be a first rounder either this year or next year, whenever he decides to come out of the draft. And he put together a really good performance against Clemson where they scored a touchdown. Lenora Sellers was Spencer Rattler's backup at South Carolina. And then Caleb Williams was Spencer Rattler's backup at Oklahoma. So I said, just on Twitter, didn't tag anybody. So this is just, I guess, someone name searching Spencer Rattler. But I said, it'll be like an interesting story in a few years because I'm big on Caleb Williams as well, when we kind of ask ourselves what Hall of Famers Caleb Williams and Lenora Sellers were doing sitting behind like 5-year NFL veteran Spencer Rattler, just kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. And Michael Rattler, his father, like, who I don't have any connection to, who doesn't follow me, who I don't follow.
He is watching today, so be careful.
Right. Replies and said like, keep his name out of your mouth. And I was like, I responded with like a tweet that I had from before the draft, saying that, I really think Spencer Rattler could be a good quarterback in the NFL. And I guess he just didn't read that tweet or thought that I was like dissing Spencer Rattler because he's like, because he lives in Phoenix. He's like, come find me in Phoenix. And I was like, what? I don't know exactly what the words he used were, but I was like, it left it at that. I didn't respond after that. So I don't want to say too many bad things about Spencer Rattler. I still think he can be. I like him better than Tyler Shook, and I think there's some potential there. But I do think the Cardinals will win this game.
Come at me, bro, he says. Well, he can say the same thing to me, because I also think New Orleans is going to be pretty bad this year, just all around. I think Arizona is going to win this first game of the season against them as well. Pittsburgh, New York. I'm going to start this one. Jets got their big blow against their offensive line. They already, are trying to figure out anything. Now they do have Justin Fields in there, and they do have talent on both sides of the ball. But Pittsburgh, this is going to be just what they need to start off, I think, with a win. I think Russell Wilson is their starter, and he's gonna get in there and do what he has to do. But I think it's going to be kind of more about what is Justin Fields able to do. They had the Jets. It was their offensive line, right? Their offensive lineman that's out. Yeah, right guard. Is that what it was?
I think it's their right guard. Yeah, Elijah Vera Tucker.
So I think it's going to be tougher for him. Now, luckily, he is a mobile quarterback. He could end up, if he gets crazy and has like a really good day, that scrambling could turn into something good for him. But I think it's just going to be really tough. And I'm going to give this one to Pittsburgh.
Brandon Colmark somewhere is scrambling to find the closest computer after he heard you say that Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, he is in New York, right?
The starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers is Brandon's hero.
I was thinking Aaron Rodgers, as I said, Russell Wilson. In my mind, it's like an old quarterback from another team. But I do have some people around me who are Pittsburgh fans who really kind of are thinking this is where Aaron Rodgers shows everybody that the Jets was a fluke. I actually heard someone say that last night. We were talking, and I said, we see this year that the Jets was a fluke. And I didn't say anything back. I'm going to watch, keep that open mind. But I think Aaron Rodgers, he could do well here. He has some targets, and I think he will do well against. This is the revenge game.
For both of them.
For both of them. You're
Justin
right.
Fields revenge game and New York Jets revenge game.
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields were both on the opposite teams that they are now currently playing for. And so, I don't know if it's like a revenge game as much as if they were on the Packers and Bears and had switched teams.
Right.
That would probably be a little bit more of a revenge game, but this is like a mercenary revenge game.
Mercenary revenge. Is there such a thing?
Because
mercenaries fight for whoever pays them.
Yep,
that's what we got. I think I was thinking Russell Wilson because the next line down is New York Giants right there, and I probably Sorry about that, football fans, but Aaron Rodgers. So who do you think will win?
I'm going to go with the Jets, although I think this could be a game where we see the Steelers, if it is true that Aaron Rodgers had a fluke year last year with New York. I think we can definitely see against a very good Jets defense if Aaron Rodgers is still scattershot, where he tries to just get the ball out quickly because he doesn't want to get hit anymore, or if he has a little bit more bravery and strength, like being able to step up in the pocket and have the confidence to deliver the ball downfield more to DK Metcalf. I also think we'll see how interesting that relationship between Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf will be, because DK Metcalf soured with Geno Smith last year, and Aaron Rodgers, outside of his Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson and the guys that he came up with in Green Bay, seems to sour with every other receiver that he plays with. So that could be some drama. I'm going to go with the Jets though to take it.
And I'm going to go with the Steelers getting some false hope. They're going to be like, after this game, it's like, look, we got Aaron Rodgers now and we're back. But I don't think they're going to be like powerhouse. I think they're going to kind of ride the middle this year. So that's our second deviation there. Now we come to Russell Wilson and the New York Giants, unless Russell Wilson goes out and Joe Dart comes in. But against Washington, I think this is going to be, this is one of those games where in my mind, if I were like kind of basing everything off last year, I'd be like, this is going to be a horrible game because the Giants are just horrible. But I want to see where they might be this year, because I have a feeling they're going to have a little different identity this year. I think this will be a tougher game than expected, but I do think Washington, with their quarterback and with the additions they've made in their team, both defensive, and just like re-signing McLaurin and the stuff they have there, I think Washington's going to win this one. But I do think we're going to see a little bit more out of the New York Giants, hopefully, in this game than we saw all last year.
I'm going to pick the Giants for this one.
You're hoping to see even more than I am.
I'm going for the Giants with actually a season sweep over the Washington Commanders this year.
Josh Haupt, you heard him say it.
we mentioned it last week that I love this Giants defensive line, and I do not like the Washington offensive line very much. And when the mismatch in the trenches is that big, the rest of it to me is a little bit more. It still matters, but I feel like that overshadows everything regardless. I mean, we saw Tom Brady in a perfect season couldn't overcome the mismatch that the Giants in 2007 had in the trenches against the Patriots. So I think that the Giants are going to have that mismatch in their favor a lot this season, and I am going to pick the Giants in a low-scoring affair.
Ooh, okay. Now it's getting interesting. So that is our third?
That's our third disagreement. Yep.
Look at that. It's starting to happen. Tennessee and Denver. I have a feeling we're going to agree here, but I could be wrong because I know how much you hate Bo Nix. I think Cam Ward is going to come in. It's going to be fun for the Tennessee Titans to see, new and excitement. I don't think they've put it together yet. I'm picking Denver. Denver, who has a pretty good team and a good coach, and whatever you think about Bo Nix, they've got him. I think they're going to beat Tennessee Titans. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Yeah, no, I agree there.
Oh!
I think Cam Ward is going to have his top weapon kind of out of the game, with Calvin Ridley being against Pat Surtain, who follows receivers around. So that locks him down. And then the rest of the Denver Broncos defense, I think, is just too good to give Cam Ward much room to operate in his first game. And I think that's going to be a little bit of an issue for a guy that likes to hold on to the ball a lot. Bo Nix will be solid, and the Broncos will win this game like 17-6 or something.
Okay. So back in agreement there. This next one, San Francisco versus Seattle. This one really has me like clueless. I'm not going to lie. I sit here and I'll think about it one way and I'll be like, oh, you know what? Seattle with Sam Darnold and the weapons. Yes, they might be able to do what they're. Oh, but San Francisco's got CMC back and they're always tough. This could be the bounce back. And I go back and forth. And truthfully, I'm having a hard time right now saying I think this one will definitively win. I am going to give it to San Francisco this year if they have CMC back, just because there's more continuity there. I think Sam Darnold and the newness of the situation is going to be the deciding factor with Seattle. Still getting all of their chemistry together, but it's tough. How about you?
I like the Seahawks here, although I agree it's also tough. And for both the NFC West and NFC North, I think iteration of 1 through 4, whatever, like whoever
Could
gets first
happen.
play. Yep. So, and I would not be surprised at the end of the season. But I have the Seahawks as, at least right now in my preseason predictions, as the better team. And I think they do win this in that outside zone game that whenever Clint Kubiak has been a new offensive coordinator somewhere, whether it be in Minnesota, whether it be in New Orleans, the first couple of weeks, the offense looks very dynamic and then kind of gets figured out a little bit more in the weeks ahead. But maybe that trend continues. And I just like what the Seahawks have on both sides of the football.
All right. So this is number 4. I need to start keeping track of this now because it's getting hard to remember. This is the fourth one we disagree.
Yes.
How about Detroit, Green Bay? Now this one, would have loved to have Brandon here. Brandon, by the way, if you don't know, because you haven't been on since last year, we haven't been doing stuff over the summer. There is a third guy on this podcast, or at least that's the theory, and his name is Brandon Colmark. What team was it that had a Brandon Coleman I was reading about? And when I read it, I read Colmark. Anyway, we do have a Brandon Colmark who is a Green Bay fan, and he really wanted to be on here last week to talk about the picture of the NFC. He didn't get to because of work. He probably wanted to get on here and talk about Micah Parsons this week. Couldn't, but he will be back. He will be with us again, and you will get to hear the incredibly salient points he makes regarding the Green Bay Packers. This one's an interesting one for me because I've been I'm a Colts fan, but if I had to pick my second team in the NFL, I picked an opposite conference team, an NFC, and that NFC that I picked was the Lions. They've been bad for so long, but in these last few years, I've been having hope. I love Dan Campbell. I love what they've been doing, but I don't know how much of that was the 2 coordinators that have left and what that's going to look like now. And so there's a part of me that just wants to, out of my strong desire to see Detroit continue to ride high. But I think this is going to be a tough game for Detroit. And I think Micah Parsons will suit up to play. I know there were people saying, will Micah Parsons suit up? I think he will. I don't know exactly how the scheme and all that stuff is going to be tailored yet, but he's just so talented. I see them wanting to use him right away. And I think with the leaving of his offensive coordinator, Jared Goff, like trying to figure out this new guy and how that's all going to look while facing this defense. And I don't think Jordan Love is a slouch. I do think they've had wide receiver, just people not being as good at wide receiver as you hoped they would be. But by all counts, Matthew Golden is looking like he's going to be golden, and Romeo Dobbs going to be there. And I think he's going to be there. I think he's going to do well. I'm just trying to think. I think Green Bay could end up winning this one. I don't know that I would have said this before the Micah Parsons trade. I think it would have been more up in the air, although I might have, because I'm just very unsure right now where Detroit is really sitting. I love that Dan Campbell's still there. I love the people they have on the field, but I have to see them do well without those coordinators, because I think Ben Johnson and I can never remember his name in New York.
Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn. I don't know why I always want to say Adam Gase, and I know that's a crazy guy. But Aaron Glenn, those two, I think, made a huge impact on what, and last year they stayed because they wanted to make a mark. And I think they are big in that. So I've got to see it continue without them there. So I'm going for Green Bay. You'll be happy to hear Brandon winning this week.
Yeah, 500 years ago, Shakespeare wrote and asked the question, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? And today, 2025, September 4th, Matthew answered it. He is there. He will be there. Romeo is there.
Romeo is there.
He is at Lambeau Field, but the Lions are going to win this game, I think.
I love that you picked them.
I think Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker, again, Micah Parsons can't be neutralized, but if there is anyone up to the task to make him as less of an impact as humanly possible in this game, it is those guys. Parsons is questionable with a back injury. I don't know if that was just fluff from, a back injury that healed with $188 million, or if it's like a legitimate back injury that's going to hamper him a little bit. But I think Penei Sewell will be up to the task there. And I think the one thing that Green Bay did when they traded away Kenny Clark is they kind of left some soft spots up the middle in their run game. And Carl Brooks is going to have to, he's, I think, the next man up. Brandon might have more information on who other rotationary defensive tackles and three techniques might be, but he's going to have to really step up. His run grade, I didn't watch any of the film, but his run grade on PFF last year was very, very bad. I don't know how often he was in the game or if that was a big enough sample size to be predictive of what it will be this year. But if it is like it was last year, it'll be a little bit easier for the new center and new guard for Detroit to kind of get their feet wet into the NFL this year as first-time starters. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery can really make that offense go and limit the amount of times that Jared Goff will have to have these true third and long dropbacks where Micah Parsons can be at his best.
I love that you picked Detroit. I hope you're right, not because I don't like Green Bay, but because I do like Detroit, and I want to see them continue on in their winning ways. Let's move on to Houston, Los Angeles Rams. Whew, Matt Stafford is the whole hinge on this one for me, and he says he's feeling fine, and so I'm going to take him at his word. And I'm also going to say the Rams get a win early that I don't know if they would get later if this starts to flare up on him. I like Houston. I do want Houston to not do as well because that's my division. But at the same time, I don't think the Colts are going to gangbuster, win this division. And probably out of all the other teams, Houston is my second favorite, but it's really hard to root for a division rival ever. So since this one's kind of really balanced, depending on the injuries and stuff, I'm going to go with the Rams.
And I'll agree with you there. I think the biggest mismatch in this game is going to be the Houston Texans offensive line that was bad last year and probably got worse after they traded Laramie Tunsil away to Washington. It's going to go up against a very good defensive Rams front. And I don't know where Matthew Stafford is on his back issues, but I think we've seen how bad CJ Stroud has looked when there is pressure. He's two completely different quarterbacks, it seemed. Maybe he has taken a step forward and is a little bit better when that pressure is in his face this year, but I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I am excited to watch the matchup between the Texans cornerbacks and the Rams receivers. I think that could be a really fun one.
Yeah, that'll be good. And then what many are calling one of the great foreshadows of what could be at the end of the year, Baltimore and Buffalo on Sunday night. This one's tough. I'm going to let you start this one so I can hear all of your points before I make my final decision.
Yeah, it should be a really fun game. Hopefully, these teams have gotten enough run in preseason and in training camp to be as up to speed as they can be in week one of the preseason, or else this game kind of feels a little bit wasted, or week one of the regular season, or else this game feels a little bit wasted on opening night. But Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, under the lights, what more could you really ask for a perfect recap? I think the Ravens defense, I trust a little bit more than the Bills defense. And this year, hopefully Mark Andrews doesn't fumble while trying to be Barry Sanders after the catch. And hopefully he can also catch a pass that hits him directly in the hands because he is the tight end on one of my fantasy football teams. So I would like him to do well. So
you're choosing Baltimore?
I am choosing Baltimore, yes.
Okay, you did nothing to sway me away from my decision. That was also Baltimore. I think sometimes the Bills in the beginning of the season can have these crazy losses, even to bad teams, and you're just like, what in the world was happening there? But I think when these two meet up, usually in the beginning of the year, Baltimore has their number a little bit. Later in the year, it's always I'm always kind of baffled. I thought Baltimore was going to be at the very top, and then somehow they lose out, and I'm like, how did that happen? But I think Baltimore wins this one, and I think you could be looking at your two MVP contestants as quarterbacks here, as they often are, between Lamar and Josh in this game. So it'll be a fun one to watch on Sunday night. What a great way to start. And then we get to go on and have another great game on Monday night. And some people are like, great game with Chicago in it. I want to say, I think Chicago's going to be better this year. And I know that everybody says, oh, they say that every year, but I really do think Ben Johnson's going to have an effect on this team that is more than their past coaches have had. So I think Chicago is going to be better. I think Minnesota is going to be exciting to see what's going on with JJ. And we're going to see a fun game here on Monday night as well. I am going to say, and you're not going to like this, that as Minnesota is getting its feet fully under it, I think Chicago's going to take this first game of the year, and you're going to be like, oh, I hate that so much, because you probably want Minnesota to sweep the Bears. And in years past, I would say, yeah, the Bears obviously are not going to be the winners here. But the Bears, if they do anything, it's they can start with a couple good wins and then let everybody down. And I think that happens again on Monday Night Football. Because of the rookie getting his first start, everybody's still gelling there. And yes, Chicago has a new coach, but I feel like they're going to win this one on the first.
Yeah, I'm going to agree based on what my long-term predictions of the season were on the playoff predictor. I do have Chicago winning this game there.
This the split.
Yes, another split. And a lot of that is because Ben Johnson has really done well against Brian Flores whenever those two minds have gone up against one another. And Caleb Williams, when he hits that back step, is when he's been at his best. When he's at his worst is kind of, well, it's when he's at his best is both when he's able to get to his back step on the route and immediately deliver, or when he's able to maneuver out of the pocket and make something happen. When it is the first read is not there and I cannot maneuver out of the pocket, that's when everything sort of starts to break down. And I think Ben Johnson has designed enough of those quick reads to be able to stop this Vikings defense and really halt the pass rush that the Vikings can bring. If those first reads aren't there, and if Caleb Williams is still having trouble with that, then it becomes a little bit of a different issue, because I think he's going to have a harder time escaping a pocket when you have a defensive line of Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen closing down the middle, and then Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, and Jonathan Grenard coming from the outside. I think it's a little bit more claustrophobic. So if that first read is taken away, I don't think he is able to get to his second bag of tricks, which is that playmaking ability. But I think for right now, Ben Johnson is going to be able in this a game that he's been preparing all offseason for, is going to be able to scheme away for Caleb Williams to knife up this Vikings defense.
And I love it when Van Ginkel is like all over the field, when he has one of those games where it's just like, man, this dude is everywhere, because then they say his name a lot. And I love hearing the name Van Ginkel.
Yeah.
So out of 16 games, we agreed on 11 of them. We disagreed on 5 of them. We both voted against our homer team. So guys, you can't say we just pick homer teams in this thing, because at least this week we did not for either of our homer teams. Before we, I guess we kind of talked about our homer teams. Is there anything you want to say about your homer team heading into this week that you haven't already said?
I'll just say that I have a lot of faith in JJ McCarthy this year, and the reason that the Vikings lose on Monday night is not because I don't think it will. I don't think it'll be because JJ McCarthy throws up a stinker. I think he'll have a good, solid debut at Soldier Field. For me, homer wise, the only thing I wanted to mention is this is the week where they induct Jim Irsay into the Ring of Honor in this first week. And I'm kind of sad about the whole fact that all this news has been out about his relapse, all these relapses that the Colts kept quiet. It would have been nice not having all that drama just before they did an induction of him. And maybe they will, kind of really step into that and say, we are about kicking the stigma and we need to have this stuff out in the open more now. What's kind of odd is that they hid all of that, with this idea of kicking the stigma. But it was something he struggled with. I did like Jim Irsay as an owner, and I know people had all kinds of, at least all the haters in our comment sections always hated on Jim Irsay, but it is good to see him go into the Ring of Honor. I think he definitely deserves to be in that Ring of Honor, even through the struggles he had. And so that'll be fun to watch, even if we do end up losing. So So is there anything else we need to talk about here on Kickoff Weekend before we sign off for the day? Oh, well, I do have my playoff
Oh yeah,
predictions and award predictions.
we're not signing off for the day, guys. We still have a whole section here. But before we even hit that, I said we were going to talk what's the marquee, what's the manure, and what's the surprise my oh my game that you have here for what. I'm just going to start with my marquee. I am doing that Sunday night game, the Baltimore Buffalo. I think that is the marquee. At least two teams that are both marquee. There are other good teams playing, but that one's going to be fun to watch. That's my marquee. What about you?
I will go with, for the marquee, the Lions and the Packers, the Micah Parsons debut, the Lions with new coordinators. How will Dan Campbell overcome it? He will, and like I said, the Lions will beat the Packers, and that will be the marquee.
What's your my oh my game?
My oh my game is going to be the Texans and the Rams, where I think that we get to see that fun matchup of both Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua for most of the game, matched up against Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, who had some of the best man coverage rates, and any stat that you can look of, advanced or otherwise, for man coverage in the NFL last season. They were number 1 and number 2 were Lassiter and Stingley. So it will be very fun to see those two go up against one another.
I maybe should have picked Tampa Bay, Atlanta as this could be a surprise game to see how that looks. But I kind of picked like my second place marquee game, and that was what you chose as your marquee game, Detroit, Green Bay. I think that's the one that I'm really looking forward to see. It's not like I think these two will necessarily be as strong as I hope they will, but I want to see what they are. And I would love to be surprised by Detroit keeping that going. But I think everybody's excited to see what Green Bay is adding, what they lost when they lost Kenny Clark, and just kind of how those teams go. So that's my oh my. What about, like I said, I don't like to right away say a team is no good because they weren't last year. But if you had to pick a manure game, what's your manure game?
I'm going Steelers Jets as my manure. It has it has, coming into it at first glance, the revenge game feel, but we kind of talked about why that was nonsense with both teams having only started for each of their prior teams that are going up against one another now for just one season. I mean, Rodgers was there for 2, but he played in 4 games or 4 snaps in the first year before
right. Not enough to count.
Right. So I don't think like the revenge game angle, I think kind of is gone. I think that is deflated. And then I also don't think it's just going to be fun football to watch, especially now that Elijah Vera Tucker is gone. And I think the fun college offense that I thought the Jets might be able to bring, at least at the beginning part of this season, I don't think it will be as effective and might look a lot uglier.
And I'm going to go take a page out of Brandon Colmark's sort of manure game, and that is a game that I think is going to be pretty one-sided. I'm going Arizona, New Orleans. I think Arizona is handily going to beat New Orleans in that game. So I don't think it's going to be all that interesting to watch. So there's our 3 games, but let's get into your records for the year, your playoff predictions, your Super Bowl predictions. Josh Kolodziejski right here, laying it down.
Here it is. Really quickly, the methodology between this, you go to playoffpredictors.com. You can pick every single game, the winner of each matchup. And when I usually do that, I have some rules that I incorporate in afterwards to adjust them, because sometimes you'll get a couple of 0-17 teams and a couple of 17-0 teams. That's not realistic. So rule number 1 is that there must be anywhere from 4 to 8 teams that were not in the playoffs last year that need to be in the playoffs this year, because that has been a consistent trend over the NFL since the merger in 1970, that there has never been a changeover rate that has been fewer than, I think it's 33%, except, okay, so for last year, it was 4 out of the 14 that were that had not been in there the previous season. So that was the lowest I think that it had been since 1983. So maybe that continues, but for parity's sake, you got to go at least 4 and no more than 8 new teams. One of those teams has to be one that most people, when you say it, will laugh at you because that is what happens every single year. The Washington Commanders, if you said they were going to make the playoffs last year, even with Jaden Daniels, I think a lot of people would laugh at you. Or Minnesota, even with Sam. It's not like a team like, oh, they're on the rise. It's a team that, no, this is a team.
The Houston Texans, just when they drafted CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. Yeah.
Like, you do not expect them at all going into the season. Like, your casual fan would think you have no idea what you're talking about. And then also, one final rule is the AFC is the old guard, where the top teams stay the same typically. And that is because 21 of the last 25 Super Bowl representatives from the AFC have been either Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, or Ben Roethlisberger. So only 4 other instances where it has not been one of those 4 quarterbacks. Meanwhile, in the NFC, it's the opposite. No one stays at the top for long. Only 4 quarterbacks have been to the Super Bowl more than once from the NFC side. Jalen Hurts twice, Eli Manning twice, Kurt Warner twice, and Russell Wilson twice, and he was the only one to do it in back-to-back seasons. Tom Brady, because Tom Brady only made it once in the NFC with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there have been 21 different quarterbacks that have made it from the NFC over the last 25 years since the 21st century. So with that being said, our AFC, let me get up my pictures right here. The AFC West winner will be the Kansas City Chiefs at 14-3. They are the only team to make the playoffs from the AFC West. The Chargers and the Broncos both finish 8-9. The Raiders 4-13. From the AFC North, we have 2 playoff teams, the 12-5 Baltimore Ravens and the 10-7 Cincinnati Bengals. Sorry, Steelers fans, Aaron Rodgers goes 6-11, and Browns fans 3-14, number 1 overall pick. From the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills, they go 11-6 and win the division. They are in the playoffs, and the last wild card spot is the 10-7 New England Patriots. I have the Jets at 8-9. I might adjust that to 7-10 or 6-11 now, and then Miami at 6-11. I might adjust that to 7-10 with one of those wins that I originally had to the Jets going to the Dolphins, but both of those teams not in the playoffs. From the AFC South, the Texans 10-7, they win it. The Jaguars also make it at 10-7. They are the 6th seed. The Titans and Colts both finish 5-12. Sorry, Matthew.
Expected.
Top 10 pick.
Well, I have a feeling Daniel Jones is going to ruin that for us and get just a win or 2 more, and we're going to be still in nowhere. So,
then number 1 seed is also the NFC South winner. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 13-4. They are the only team from the NFC South to make it. The Falcons go 7-10, Panthers 6-11, Saints 3-14. New York Giants win the NFC East, ladies and gentlemen. They go 12-5. That defensive line just does a spectacular job. And they are the team that most people would laugh at me for picking. But if you gotta go with the trends, you've got to swing big. So they make it, and their defensive line does enough. And whether it's Jackson Dart or Russell Wilson, I have faith that the offense will be just good enough to lead them to the top of the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles go 11-6. They also make the playoffs. The Washington Commanders miss the playoffs at 9-8, and the Dallas Cowboys are 4-13 at the bottom of the division.
Wow.
2 more divisions left. NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings win the NFC North with a 12-5 record. So we talked about the homerism being kept in check, at least for the week 1 predictions. It has been fully unleashed here. For the last segment of our show. The Chicago Bears are a wild card team at 10-7. The tiebreakers from the playoff predictors also had the Lions at 10-7, but missing the playoffs based on whatever the tiebreakers were, because it has them all like manually programmed in. So it says that the Bears are the team that makes it and the Lions are the ones that don't. The Green Bay Packers, they are in last place at 8-9, even with Micah Parsons. So that leaves the NFC West, where the Seattle Seahawks win the division 12-5, and the Arizona Cardinals also make the playoffs at 11-6. Rams 8-9, 49ers in last place at 6-11. But again, with both the NFC North and the NFC West, no iteration of those 4 teams would surprise me at the end of the season. Okay, so your MVP, Patrick Mahomes. Your rookie of the year on the offensive side, Travis Hunter. On the defensive side of the football, the rookie of the year is going to be Abdul Carter. And the offensive player of the year is going to be Kenneth Walker III with a big season in that outside zone offense for the Seattle Seahawks. Coach of the year is Mike Vrabel, as he has a lot of friends in the media and will get going on that route with leading the Patriots to the playoffs for the first time. And then I don't know what the other, defensive player of the year. I'm not going to give it to Micah Parsons. I'm sorry, Packers fans. I believe the player that I gave it to, well, it was somewhere, but it's not here in front of me anymore. But
tune in next time to find out that one position.
Tune in, yeah. We will figure that out in our next show. But I do have the playoffs in front of me. Oh, Dexter Lawrence I think Dexter Lawrence is going to be a game wrecker for the New York Giants if he has a full healthy season. So those are my award predictions. I have 7 head coaches getting fired.
7.
I'm not going to. I will. I
bet Shane Steichen's one of them, isn't he?
Every year there is 1 or 2 first-year head coaches. Kellen Moore is gone. Pete Carroll is also going to be gone because in this scenario, the Raiders do not live up to expectations and Tom Brady is quick to the trigger. Mid-season firings, there have been 2 every year, or at least 2 every year in the last 5 years. Kevin Stefanski, out of there. Shane Steichen, out of there when the Daniel Jones experiment fails. Then the others that will be fired, Mike Tomlin with the Steelers finally deciding to rebuild. Mike McDaniel with the offense not working as we expected for the Dolphins, and Todd Bowles will be fired because his number 1 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as you will see here, are going to be one and done in the playoffs because they will have the 1 seed, but they will face the winner of the Bears-Giants game in the wild card matchup. The Bears win that, and the Bears beat the Buccaneers, and the Bears are in the NFC Championship game. Who will they be playing, you ask? Well, they will take on either the Vikings or Eagles. The Vikings beat the Eagles in the wild card. The Cardinals beat the Seahawks in the other wild card. The Vikings beat the Cardinals, and the Minnesota Vikings are taking on the Chicago Bears. The worst nightmare for Packer fans, just like 2010, was the worst nightmare for Vikings fans like myself when the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers matched up in the NFC Championship game. From the AFC, I'll give the winner in just a second of that NFC Championship game. But in the AFC, the Bengals beat the Texans, the Jaguars lose to the Bills, and the Ravens beat the Patriots. That pits in the divisional round the Bengals against the Chiefs. Chiefs win that game. The Bills against the Ravens win that game. And then it's Chiefs-Ravens from the AFC side. Now, before I go with the bombshell here for the Super Bowl predictions, I just want to say that, yes, I am a homer, but I have only predicted what I'm about to predict 2 times during my NFL prediction career. And that is once was in 2010, which was the second Brett Favre season. And the other time was 2018, which was the first Kirk Cousins season following the 2017 NFC Championship debacle. I have predicted the Vikings to make the Super Bowl here, and they will beat the Bears 30-20. 30-20, that's a very specific score. 1998, the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship game. They're up 27-20. They send their perfect kicker with just over 2 minutes left to go in that NFC Championship game to kick a 38-yard field goal. He hadn't missed all season. He missed a field goal. This time, Will Reichard does not miss, and he kicks it, makes it through. It's 30-20, so that the Atlanta Falcons / now incarnate as the Chicago Bears cannot drive down the field, tie the game, and win in overtime. They drive down the field. They don't get the touchdown, and the Minnesota Vikings win exactly 30-20 to kind of adjust for the malfeasances of the NFL back in 1998.
Reaching back there.
And now the reason that I think they will face this team is because of the reason why Minnesota sports are cursed. If we turn back the clock very quickly to 1960, the Minnesota Vikings are about to be a football team. They're not going to be an NFL team, though. They're going to be an AFL team because Lamar Hunt and his, at the time, Dallas Texans is making this new league apart from the NFL, which he believes has a monopoly. He wants to give other cities the chance to have an NFL team, so he wants to put a team in Dallas. He makes the Dallas Texans, and he's making a league because the NFL owners are saying, no, none of you can be here. So he's going to all these cities that don't have a team, including Minnesota, a big representative for the Midwest market in this new AFL football league that is going to be coming to fruition. So much so, they suit Minnesota so much to the point that they say we are going to have the NFL draft, or the first AFL draft, in Minneapolis that night, right before the AFL draft. Lamar Hunt gets a knock on the door. He sees his go person, his assistant or whatever, has a newspaper that says the NFL is going to add Minnesota and Dallas to its leagues. Minnesota had gone behind the back of Lamar Hunt in the AFL, and the Minnesota Gophers, who had won 3 championships as the AP number one. That was most of anybody else. The Minneapolis Lakers up to that point had won 5 NBA championships. That was the most of anybody else. Minnesota was a sports town. Minnesota, as a sports town, has won 2 championships since they stabbed Lamar Hunt in the back. And to make it even worse, Lamar Hunt's Kansas City Chiefs later in that decade beat Minnesota in the Super Bowl 4, by a score of 23-7. Well, guess what? The Chiefs are the team that has the monopoly now. Even though they lost the Super Bowl last year, they're making the Super Bowl again, and they are just dominating the AFC. It is time for the curse to be reversed. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 23-7. Again, another callback to Super Bowl 4, where through NFL Films on NFL Network, I've had to watch back all of the voiced up, mic'd up segments. That was like the first one they ever did. And it's Hank Stram making fun of the Minnesota Vikings and their ability to not stop the run. Well, Hank Stram rolled back over in your grave, because Kevin O'Connell is now going to be mic'd up and saying the exact same things that Hank Stram did in that game. The Minnesota Vikings are, for the first time ever, Super Bowl champions.
Look at that. That is the way at least one person has envisioned this year going. And I want you all to kind of write that down, keep tabs. Let's talk about it as Josh goes through this year and we get to the end. So here's my other question is, if Kansas City is in the Super Bowl, is Taylor Swift the halftime show?
I don't think Taylor Swift will be the halftime show. Well, maybe, because San Francisco is going to be having it out in San Francisco, the Super Bowl. It's going to be light to start out the halftime show. We saw it when Coldplay did it in the 2015 Super Bowl. Coldplay came out and it was like this kind of weird vibe, because it was daytime still and it wasn't dark, and this doesn't seem like a halftime show. I could imagine Taylor Swift coming out to a similar sort of set at the halftime show in that Super Bowl. But yes, probably she'll maybe get it. But Jay-Z gets to decide, everybody. So maybe it depends on how Jay-Z likes Taylor Swift, or how much money Taylor Swift is really is willing to impart upon Jay-Z and Beyonce.
I did not know Jay-Z had this sort of power. But I also don't really follow all of that. I just, every year I'm surprised. I'm like, oh, this is who's doing the Super Bowl halftime. So we'll see who that is. But you've got a lot of specifics here that if they all fell into place, everyone needs to bow down and worship Josh Kolajewski and his predictive powers. So
I am not asking you to worship me. I am asking, yes, for a bit of reverence. If that all happens.
If it all falls like that, exactly, it's going to be hard not to worship you as a football mind. Anyway. But that is going to do it for us today. We want to end with that high note right there. Vikings win over the Kansas City Chiefs 23-7. Is that what you said?
That is correct. Yes.
23-7. You heard it here first. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on the Football Fandemic. We are going to be back next week, and we're going to talk about this first slate of games and how they turned out according to our predictions. We're going to predict the next week. We're going to go on, and it's going to be a great year. Thanks for joining us here on the Football Fandemic.